Well, g'day and welcome back to the shed. Having just finished the radiola, and that was quite a big project. I'm not really sure what to start on next. I've got a few radios laying around the shed here. I've got this Nordmender Parsifal, I think it is, that I picked up a little while ago, and I seem to remember it was cheap, but I seem to remember it doesn't have a speaker in it, if I'm right. I also have this this radio here, which I still haven't unwrapped out of its carton. It's a Bush of some description. I don't really know how good it is, but I do know there's a crack in the dial glass, which I'm a bit worried about. I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. Apart from that, up in the Rogues Gallery here, I've got this decrepit old Philips, which is AM only, and needs a lot of work on the cabinet. I'm not sure if I want to tackle that or not. And this hideous thing here, this is an old STC, and possibly one of the ugliest radios I've ever seen. So what's it going to be? I don't want to take on that Philips. It's too much work at the moment. I need nice weather to work outside, and for some strange reason it started to rain again, so I don't know. I might have a look at the ugly one. I don't really feel like tackling the Nordmender or the Bush just yet. I want something easy to fix, so yeah, let's have a go at that. Okay, so I've got it down off the shelf, and here it is in all its pristine beauty. Pretty big. Looking at the cabinet, it's kind of intact. It looks like someone's restored it with a wire brush and a few nails at some point. Got this old mesh in the speaker. I don't think that's original. Even this STC badge is damaged. I was going to say no two knobs are the same, but this one and this one look to be the same. This one here will be off something else. I don't know what this is off either. Frankly, I don't care if they're the right knobs. With this radio, if it goes and looks half presentable, it'll do me. I can just see through the grill there that the speaker's been half eaten away by insects, so that'll be another challenge. I thought at first that the dial on this was in reasonably good condition, but on second thoughts it's not. It's got a crack right around the end there, and there's a few little bits of paint flaking off. I might be able to repair it so it looks half decent, but we'll just have to see about that. Of course I can always scrap it for spare parts. We'll just see. Now I may as well turn it around and have a look in the back. I haven't really had a decent look at this at all. I just got it for, I think I paid 20 bucks for it. Stuck it on the shelf, and there it remained for some time. So what do we got? We've got a valve diagram here. It's a model 556, so I can probably pull a schematic up for that. Geez, what a mess. All this crunchy old wiring it's got. This is attached to the speaker. The speaker is a permanent magnet type, which is, I guess, hopeful in that if that cone's too far gone, I can replace it with another permanent magnet speaker. It looks like about 8 inch. So these wires go from that speaker, obviously taped up. I love these wiring here. That's horrible. We've got a switch of some sort there. Don't know what this does. It's got these wires attached to it. That one goes nowhere. This one goes into the side of the chassis. Might be an aerial, maybe. No idea what these would be for then. these two wires go to this switch and this socket here. These ones here go up and around here, around there and down to this connector here. Oh my god, what's that? They go into this connector here, which I have no idea what it is. It might be an old valve socket. Is it? Yeah, it's an old valve base with wires soldered into it. Just looking at the Arts and P sticker here, number 44036, no prefix, which I guess puts it mid-40s or something like that, and that's probably about right looking at the construction. Looking at the model number here, these valve numbers, I guess that's the heater voltage, 1 volt heaters, but that's not what's in it. I can just see on this valve here, this is a 6X5, I think, GT. So the valves will have been changed. I guess this will have been converted to AC at some point. It's got this power transformer lurking in the back here, and this mains cord, I guess. This is good, just attached to this twin flex, and this goes, oh yeah, we've got a moulded plug on it, so this is a fairly late addition. Suggests it might have been working in the 80s or 90s or something, but it's I'd say it's definitely been converted at some stage. I don't know what all this crap is. I guess the thing to do is to pull it out of its cabinet and explore a little bit further, see if it's going to be anything like fixable. Alright, first I suppose I better get this plate off. In a sense, it's a relief to work on a set that I don't really care that much about. If I salvage it, then good, but if I don't, well, okay. I'm thinking I'm going to put this panel back on. Now, I think these speaker wires are separated okay. I have no idea what these wires are, but I'll make sure they're not touching anything. And you know what, I'm going to hook this up to dim bulb and just see what happens. We may get magic smoke, we may get a loud bang, I don't really know. But let's just have some fun with it, eh? Okay, now kiddies, don't do this at home. This goes against everything we're told not to do with an unknown valve radio. You don't just turn them on, but what the heck. We've got the dim bulb here set to dim bulb, that's off at the moment. And one thing I will do is I've got the variac here, so I'm going to put it on dim bulb and dial it up slowly, and we'll just see what we get. Smoke, flames, whatever. Well, here goes. On. Nothing's happened yet. I'm just dialing up a little bit of voltage here. I'm going to about 80 volts there. And nothing's happening yet. No dim bulb. Nothing glowing. It's on about 100 volts there now. Still nothing from the dim bulb. Nothing at all. Let's see what controls we got here. That might be a volume. Don't know. Alright, let's just bring it up a little bit more. It's somewhere around 150 there. Still nothing out of the dim bulb. It may be completely dead. I'm seeing heaters in the valves, and I'm not seeing smoke yet. Okay, well, I still don't know which way this switch was either. I'm just going to check the chassis to ground, make sure I don't touch anything nasty. Put it on AC volts, 250, and I have a ground conveniently attached to the dim bulb set up here. Just going to touch this. That's not hot, that's not hot. Chassis, I'm getting a few volts to ground, not much. So that's on the 10 volt range, and I'm getting just about a volt to ground. Well, that's probably just floating because it doesn't have an earth on it, this chassis. Okay, so heaters are glowing. Let's just crank it up a bit more, shall we? 200 volts. Still no smoke. And now we have a faint glow from the bulb. That's on about 220. That's as far as I want to take it. Don't know what this switch does. Nothing as far as I can tell. We've got no noise from the speaker. I don't know what that knob is. Might be tone, it might be volume. I'll see. I think there's another knob here somewhere. I'm getting a crackle from the speaker. So the audio's working. So that's on 240 volts out of the variac, going through the dim bulb. And I'm getting noise from the speaker as I turn the volume. There's no reception, but that's hardly surprising. I wonder what would happen if I hook an aerial up to it. I guess this is the aerial. Whoa! That was interesting. It stopped now as soon as I touched that switch. I don't believe it.
Households with other tensions and stresses, there's often a good reason when people are out on the street committing crimes. It may be because home is not safe or not the best environment for them yet. Our first port of call is to bail young people to just be at home and not leave without their parents. At the checkout at the supermarket.
I can't believe that. I was expecting smoke or something. I was half hoping it'd blow up so I didn't have to fix it. Alright, well, let's take this thing off again. I'll make sure it's unplugged. There we go, it's unplugged. I'll take this off. No idea what this stuff is. Anyway, I'll just stick it in here for the moment. I'm tempted to just leave it original, to be honest. It's quite remarkable that that worked. So how do we get this out? I guess we take the knobs off for a start. That might be a good place to start. This looks like an old rhodiola knob, the same as the ones on the radio I just finished, except it's more variegated. Where's the grub screw on this one? There. This is that knob that was doing all the crackling when I turned it on. And it's only a switch, one click either way, so I can't bring the grub screw up to the top. There we go. I'm just looking at this cabinet, look at this. The veneer's all split along here. It looks like someone's scrubbed it with a wire brush or something and tried to cover it up. Really is a mess. Okay, when I had it tipped back then, I saw a couple of screws underneath that probably hold the chassis in. One there. That's one of them. Now if I undo this, is the chassis going to fall? Yes, alright, I'll just put it back up and undo it from underneath. Okay, so let's see what happens. Now it looks like the speaker stays with the chassis. And it's attached to that. There's plenty of wire attached to it, so I can probably just pull it out. In fact, it all goes to this plug, so I can unplug the speaker altogether. There we go. Alright, let's just pull it out. Running out of bench room here. This I found in the bottom of the cabinet. It's part of a knob escutcheon, I suppose. So that looks like a spider's nest there. We got rat poo galore. Oh, look at that pile of it. And the speaker, an old roller. Okay, let's just have a look at this. The speaker plugged into there, so I presume these are speaker wires, and this must have connected to another speaker. I'll just cut it off. They don't go anywhere, these orange wires, they're just hanging. Potential shorts. has an X on it because no speaker was plugged into it, but you could have potentially plugged 2 speakers into this. Might have been used as a farm radio or in a pigsty or a milking shed or God knows what. And that appears to switch from 1 to 2 speakers or something perhaps. Alright, so this is the speakers. What sort of plug have we got on that? Now okay, so that's quite different to... This may have originally been on the speaker. I don't know. No, it looks like an old valve base to me. I'll just put it aside for the moment. Might need it to figure out what's going on. Turn him around. So this dial glass, maybe it's salvageable if I fix up this crack, and someone's obviously stuck it together with bits and pieces of whatever they had lying around. This would be the tuning. Seized solid, but remarkably the dial string's still intact. Alright, let's turn it upside down. Okay. And I plugged this in. Oh well. I've got no idea what the value of these caps are because the label's been eaten off by goodness knows what. Here's the back of that plug that feeds the speaker. We've got a few waxes in there. I'm guessing this and this might be the same value. I don't know. I'll just have a look. 16. Is that really? Yeah, we're not going to find out what that is. I could measure it, I suppose. Whatever it is, it works. So if I just replace it with an equivalent, of course I could possibly get a schematic, but I'm pretty convinced that this has been converted to AC at some point. We've got these wires. What's this? This has just been soldered on. That could be the heaters. I don't know what this transformer is here. Could be the output transformer, but there's another one on top that looks like the output transformer. It goes up through here. Might have to do a little bit of tracing on this. Wonder if I can get the tuning to work. That's stuck. Oh, just the flywheel has come adrift in it. It's not preventing it from moving. The whole spindle's stuck. But the dial string remarkably is fine. Look at that. You can see the rat's teeth marks in the capacitor, and they've eaten into this one as well. So I'd say this might benefit greatly from a recap. So we've got one here which we know is 16. This one is an 8. And that one is anybody's guess. But it goes from ground to this terminal. Oh my goodness, look at that. You can see it goes to there, and when you move it, that is just a millimetre of shorting to the next pin. This switch here is attached to a couple of different coils. Yeah, 2 sets of coils. So this will have a short wave band, I would think. This one will be volume. And this is attached to another rotary switch with just 2 wires and an earth. And down to these, so it could be maybe a tone control setup of some sort. Just looking at the dial, it does have a short wave band marked along the bottom here. I guess the next thing to do might be to take this dial glass off before anything happens to it. These screws look pretty crusty. Yep, there we go. Soak them in vinegar, they'll probably come up all right. And then I'll just lift this out. There really isn't that much on top of the chassis. It appears that something's been removed from the front here. It could have been a vibrator setup or something to do with the battery setup. I'm just screwing a couple of pieces of wood to the top of this frame so that I can turn the chassis upside down on the bench. This will allow the dial pointer to still move, and I think this should support it. The only thing is it'll be up fairly high. It will tilt the chassis forward towards me, so that might be a good thing. And before I turn it upside down, I might just brush some of the dirt off there. I'm not going to clean it up yet, but I'll at least give it a brush off, otherwise it'll empty dirt all over my bench top. So it's just not much comes off. It's quite greasy or mucky, but there is some loose debris on there that I'll get off. Quite a bit of it actually. It's all coming out. And this IF transformer here has the adjustments pointing towards this valve here, so I don't know how you're supposed to get a screwdriver in to adjust that. That will be fun. Maybe it was originally turned around the other way, I have no idea. They would have had to do some fairly extensive rewiring. Of course, all the valve sockets would have to have been rewired. I suspect that this is not the original plug. It has a screw hole either side of it. And I suspect that one of these may have been the original speaker plug. So I'll probably return it to that because that's going to work better for me. The speaker itself has a plug that will fit this. Won't fit in that, and they used an old valve base as a plug to plug into that. The dial string's interesting in that it has two strings. One drives this drum from the spindle below, and this other one with the thick cord in it drives the pointer. The cord that drives the drum to the spindle is very thin, and they both run around the surface of the same drum. They don't seem to get, well, I don't know if they'll get tangled up in each other because the thing is frozen solid. But I don't know if that was original. It seems alright, I guess. Okay, so that seems to hold it upside down quite successfully, and we can now begin to contemplate the truly awful state of this chassis. Okay, so let's start on this side of the chassis. It's this is the RF side, and the wiring's pretty messy everywhere, I've got to say. But the first concern is this tuning shaft, which is seized solid, and the flywheel is loose on the shaft, so it's going to float around and short out things if I don't secure that. So the first thing I'm going to do is to get a screwdriver down there and tighten that up. That seems to be okay. Now I have given this a dose of WD-40 just to help free it up. I notice here that this bracket is made of pot metal and it looks pretty badly cracked. I would like to take it out and clean it out, but I'm a bit reluctant to, because if that cracks up, if it breaks altogether, I'll be sunk. So I'm a little bit reluctant to do that. I'm going to try and free it up where it is and see if I can get it going like that. And there is some movement in it now. It's starting to turn. It's still a bit stiff, but I'm hoping that it will free up. It only goes part of the way through before the cord starts to slip, and I hope I haven't got any CRC on that. It seems to get stuck about halfway. Oh, that's because the dial pointer's at the end of its travel. Oh, okay. I can see that the dial pointer is not moving and the cord's actually slipping around it. Okay, I'll turn it right way up again, I mean. And I might just lubricate this dial pointer here. Okay, I thought I'd better draw myself up a little diagram of what we've got here. So we have a 6x5 rectifier in here. The output tube is a 6v6, it's here. So I'll just take it out and make sure that I can read the markings on it. Yeah, 6v6. And I'm not used to looking at circuits for battery powered sets, so my apologies if I'm looking very silly here. But this is the original circuit diagram, model 556, chassis 556. First thing I noticed, you've got a heater string here, so all the heaters were in series. They run off the power supply through a choke here. We've got a 6 volt supply here, 6 volt battery, and that goes through this battery switch. This is tone control and battery switch. I suspect, well, I don't know, it looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 position switch. And it may have had several tone control settings and an on-off for the battery, I guess. That's no longer going to be functioning the way it was. But then we have here, okay, we've got the aerial coil, we've got a mixer oscillator going on here, and here's the oscillator which switches between the short wave and medium wave bands. That's pretty straightforward. Oscillator going on the tuning cap there. This looks like an IF, and they're directly heated cathodes, so you just got a heater and nothing else and a couple of grids. Another IF, and same thing again, another 1M5 and another IF. You've got your detector preamp here, and that goes to the output tube, which was a 1L5, and it's yeah, it's got a screen and a grid and a plate, and that's about it. But there's nowhere in here for a power rectifier tube, and what I think they might have done is borrowed one of these IF stages and used the valve socket to put in a rectifier tube, because the first, in the spot in the chassis where one of those 1M5s is, and I think it's the first one, this one is a 6x5 rectifier. So this has been, well, I would like to say butchered, I suppose, but whoever did it knew what they were doing. It's been considered, and whoever did it knew, obviously got the set to work probably for many years to come. They didn't do a pretty job, but they did a functional job, and they knew what they were about. The interesting thing, I guess, is that this would not have been cheap. Someone's radically rewired this chassis, and that means that at that time this radio's value was such that it was worth spending that much money on. So it must have been considered of value to its owners to bother doing that. Perhaps they moved from the farm to the city. Maybe the farm got 240 volts. I'm sure it was a farm radio, and it probably played to the cows while they were being milked in the morning. I've got no idea, but I suspect it's something like that. From the amount of dirt and muck in the chassis and the state of it, I'd say that's what's happened, and the fact that it's got external speakers arranged with a switch for them. This vibrator module here has been removed, but I suspect that transformer, or what I thought was a transformer underneath, was possibly this choke, and it's got two electrolytics across it, both, if I can read that, 16 UF, and that might still be there, and it might be used as the smoothing section, filter section of the power supply. So possibly they will have taken the valve in this socket there and just wired it up to that. So those electrolytics in the cabinet in the bottom may be original and just have had the wires pulled around a bit. So back to removing the valves, let's have a look at this one. Oh, that cap is rusty and just flopping around on it. I'll have to remove that carefully. I don't want to damage it. No idea what it's going to be. Okay, that was making contact. And let's just have it out of its socket. And it is a 6G8. A 6G8. Okay. Next we have this one. Is it going to be another 6G8? Who knows? No, it's a 6U7, this one. Okay, 6U7. And the last one, without a goat can. And it's a 6A8. 6A8. Okay, I'll clean them up and clean the cans up where applicable and put them back in. But for now, let's have it upside down and see what we can see. So back underneath again, and this thing here is a choke. It only has 2 wires coming out of it, and they do run back here to the rectifier tube and to one side of this capacitor that I can tell. I haven't traced this side through yet. There's this one here which goes through a resistor. Yeah, anyway. Apart from these nasty waxies, another thing I noted is this switch here in the corner, and I don't think you can see that, so I'll just move the camera. Has had most of the wiring removed from it, and it is the one that on the circuit diagram was labelled battery/tone switch. And I'd say the battery functions have been removed. It was a multi-position switch, but it's had a stop put in it. Oh no, it does turn around further, but it looks like most of the contacts are not connected now. So whether we've had an IF removed, I can't really tell. There's one of the IFs next to that rectifier tube. It's pretty hard to second guess what that tech did back in the day. But it works. So if I just change the caps out, the paper caps and whatever, we should get a bit of an improvement, and just keep it as it was wired and perhaps tidy it up as best I can. I can't do an awful lot. You can't polish a turd, as they say. Just going through here, I notice this one's been cut off. I don't know where it originally went. This is the band switch. Now I can't see a wire that seems to belong to it. May have been cut out of circuit because it was shorting, or it could mean that we have no short wave function. I don't know. If I can work out where it goes, I'll replace it, but I don't know what it's connected to at this point. Okay, well, I've changed the filter caps and that other 8 mic one there, and I thought just for fun I'll see what the old ones measure at. So got the meter here, set it for nanofarads or whatever. So we'll start with the 8 mic and just attach it there. On 0, 11 nanofarads, that's not an awful lot. It looks like it's got nothing on it. Okay, next we'll try this 16 UF electrolytic, and we got, give it a minute, 21.2 microfarads from a 16, so it wasn't well. And this unknown one, but I suspect it's another 16, and the schematic shows 2 16s in parallel across this choke, so it's going to be a 16 as well. Let's see what it's measuring. Thirty-eight microfarads, and I guess it was a 16. I didn't have any 16, so I've replaced those two with 24s. I'll have to get onto Carl and see if I can get some more 16s, and I'm also out of 10s and 8s now. Okay, I'm tempted to just plug this in and power it up again, and just make sure I haven't done anything silly. I don't think I have, but I have reworked some of these solder joints. They were pretty blobby. In fact, I want to go over that one again, but I'll just do that, and then I'll power it up. Okay, I'll just get in here and just this is one of these connections with far too many wires to one terminal. Did the best I could with it, but it's I think that should be alright. It doesn't look pretty, only so much you can do with some of them, and I'm not wasting my time trying to make this look pretty anyway. Okay, I'll turn her upside down and see how we go. Okay, here we go. I've got it set up. I've got it hooked up to the shop speaker here. I think I put all the valves in the right sockets. Got it on dim bulb, so I'm just going to switch it on, and the dim bulb's behaving, lit up, went down, and we'll see if it comes up again. Got heaters going in these valves though. Okay. I think that's short wave. Oh well, it's working on short wave, that's nice. Let's see what we get on medium wave. I guess that's the other click there.
Special night for Adele and everybody in the room. It was a 10 foot old.
like this until he met his true master.
You probably know, this business, that business is all cash business. So. How did we get here? What are we talking about? Yeah. Okay.
By lack of, and we're paying for electricity.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be Radio National.
The last half, 53.8.
There's a racing station.
This fine segment, CJ.
Indeed.
This, of course, is on dim bulb, so I might just put it on full power.
Second year as we hit the half past mark. And we've got Sleeping Beauty. Now, I didn't see this. Julia Lee making her directorial debut. What did you make of Sleeping Beauty?
Yeah, I dare say that Sleeping Beauty, along with maybe one or two more down the list, is probably the
Now, I'm not too sure what this other knob does here, so I'll just
probably
try it.
the most challenging. It was made by Julia Lee. She wrote it as well, and she's a novelist, an Australian novelist. I gather of some renown. I've not read her novels. And Sleeping Beauty is a
there is a
artful story about.
There is a change in tone, so that must be a tone
Sort
knob.
of discovered, I think, for this, and
Yeah, well, that seems to do something anyway.
it's a very good film.
And it's still working. That shortwave was surprising. It seems to pick up very well. It's a pity this is not in a nice console or something. It would be worth using the extra positions on that switch to attach a Bluetooth module or something. I don't think this case warrants it, but you never know. Anyway, on with the show. I'm going to turn it back upside down and change those paper caps. Well, I'm about halfway through, about halfway through doing the recap, changing all the waxies and cleaning as I go. And I'm seeing all sorts of things here. There's wires cut off everywhere. I was right, there's a wire coming out of this IF can that's just been cut off, which supports my theory that one of the IFs has been sacrificed to provide a valve socket for the rectifier here. And the rectifier, that socket had lots of blobby solder on it where leads had just been cut off. There's some very interesting workmanship here. Whoever did this knew what they were doing, but they did it in a hurry. I'd say it was a cheap and cheerful job. And as I said before, it surprises me that the set warranted the work to convert it. But I guess in those days these things were considered quite valuable. Anyway, on with the show. I'll get these ones out. I decided to change all the 0.1s for a start, so I'll do this one next, despite the fact this 0.05's in the way. Just thought I'd show you what I was finding. I've replaced most of the paper caps. I'm just left with this last cluster of paper caps up here. And just looking at them, these are all attached to the plate, and they've run a lead up from the plate to these two. And these go around to the tone control switch. So these will be tone shaping, and they do it by taking they're switching a couple of caps straight off the plate to ground to filter part of the audio to ground. Seems a fairly crude way of doing it, but that's what they do. And I checked the schematic, and that was the original arrangement on the schematic. Here it is. Here you've got the plate of the output valve, which used to be a 1L5. Goes through a cap to the output transformer, but down here to this switch, and it switches this cap or no caps to ground, and that's your tone control setup. I suppose I may as well keep it as it was, although I'm thinking of another alternative. This tone switch here has a number of redundant positions now. It used to also be the battery switch, and from what I can gather it had possibly two positions. I don't know what they were for, to do with the battery switch. I'll have to try and trace a circuit through and work out how they actually functioned. But they're redundant now, and it struck me that it might be worthwhile to go back to a conventional arrangement where I have a capacitor and a pot progressively feeding the capacitor to the grid of the detector preamp, and in that case it's a 6G8. Now the grid of the 6G8 is pretty accessible. This the wiper of the volume pot here goes, this resistor just goes to ground, this lead here goes straight to the grid of the 6G8, right next to the tone control switch, so I could very easily pick up the grid from here, run it across to here via a cap, and put in a suitable pot to act as a variable volume control. And it occurred to me I could also, if I can get a switch pot, I could put one in with a 240 volt switch, and it's right next to the transformer, so it'll be ideal to do that. Now, I don't normally like to modify radios too much from the original, but gee, this one's already been modified an awful lot. It seems pointless to try and keep it original, so why not do that? It strikes me as being a good solution. I don't think I've got a suitable pot lying around. I might have. If not, I'll have to order one, but that's fine. No hurry, I guess. I've still got the cabinet to do, so that should have arrived by the time I get around to finishing the cabinet, and then I could just put it in. Anyway, for now I'm going to replace these as is, so I'll get on with that, and then we'll fire it up and see if I've done anything silly. I was just pulling these off and I noticed that this cap is on the plate of the 6V6 to ground here permanently via the speaker plug. And I thought, well, if I'm going to take that off while I'm in here, I may as well change the speaker plug over to the original type. So I've taken one of these out of here and cleaned it up a bit, and I'm going to take the speaker plug out and mount this one in it, because that seems to be what it had originally, and the plug on the back of the speaker will fit this. So I'll do away with that extension speaker setup. I guess it is part of the set's history, but I don't see any point in keeping it. So yeah, I'll do that, and that'll tidy this bit up a little bit as well. That's if I can get this this solder off the ground. The poor old soldering iron wasn't really meant for this type of work. There we go, that's off though. And if I can just take care of that little bridge. Yep, that should be alright. Well, we're getting there. I've replaced this nest of capacitors here with these. I've kept this lead coming up from the plate. Convenient place to check plate voltage anyway. And I may be rearranging this by changing the tone control anyway. Put in the other socket from the original speaker plate. Now I've changed the cathode bypass cap on both of these, and that's about it. I'm just tidying up a little bit of wiring here. There's this horrible thing which is part of the valve heater string, so I'm just replacing that. And that's about it. I'll turn it over, try it out, and see if it goes bang. Well, there we are with the recap finished. I've just cleaned where I've been, but I've still got quite a bit to do, and I still have to sort out this tuning. Although it works, it still doesn't feel right. It's still stiff. And I noticed another thing. As you turn the tuning knob to the right, the pointer moves to the left. So, that is clockwise. The pointer moves to the left, which I don't particularly like, but I think I can just easily reverse it, but that will mean taking the dial string off, which is probably just as well, because I really need to take this out, clean it out, and I'll probably have to run a drill through this pot metal bracket here, hopefully without breaking it. Anyway, what I'm going to do is clean up this mess here, and then plug it in and see how it goes. Well, here we go. I was going to give it a clean up, but I'll check it first. After that, if it works, I'm going to at least start to clean this all up. But I've got it hooked up to dim bulbs, so let's just see what happens. and the dim bulb's behaving, so I'll just wait for it to come up. Hopefully we'll get some reception. Yep, bulb's starting to come up again. We might be hearing something.
The gold mine and the Cobre Panama mine. Maria says for years the gold mine polluted the local river, the Santur.
Has she been Hartnell?
Who had the big hit with it too.
Yeah, I remember her singing it.
Question number 13. We've turned the corner. We've got no more Are We in a Prayer, no more I Must Ask You a Question. So we've got Pixies, Fairies and Elves, 5-syllable answers or trash talk.
We'll go to trash.
Trash talk. Question number 13. We've turned the corner. Which band performed the theme tune for the Bond film The World Is Not Enough?
Which band?
Which band?
All right. Trash talk. Garbage.
Correct. Correct. Which band performed the theme tune for the Bond film The World Is Not Enough? It was Garbage.
Well, speaking of garbage, this piece of garbage is working at least, so I might get into cleaning it up and see what I can do with it. One thing I didn't think to do was to check the operation of the tone control after I replaced those caps. So I'll do that now. Here we go. So just turning it up.
And so it starts to mirror the relationship between a mother and a child, hence the term man-child or man-baby.
And that's the first click.
When that man-baby says, "Come on, darling, let's mess about a bit. Let's have some frisky moments," which of course is the language of love that I'm using.
There is quite a difference there. I'm only using the bench speaker, which is a crappy old car speaker, and I doubt if the microphone's picking it up as well as I can hear it here, but there is a good deal more bass, and it does get progressively less, so that on the third click it actually sounds like a fairly full range. I won't be able to tell until I've got a decent speaker hooked up to it. But yes, I'd say that that's working as it should. I still think that I'll replace that switch with a conventional tone control pot and possibly a power switch. Would just improve its functionality if it ever gets to a point where it's usable. Well, as you can see, it's got quite a bit of cleaning up to do and quite a bit of work. I've got to resort out the dial so that it works in the correct sense, so it's going to fit that tone control pot. And quite a few other things. Some further tidying up of the wiring I think is also in order. And then there's the cabinet. Oh my god, that's a mess. So I'm going to leave it here, and we'll come back in a couple of weeks and I'll do the cabinet and all the other bits and pieces. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this rusty, crusty old radio, and we'll catch you in the shed next time. Bye for now.